Washington was not. By the 1890s, Washington's reputation as a spokesperson and fundraiser for Tuskegee was growing.
Booker T. Washington spoke in a language that everyone could understand. He had something for working class blacks. He had something for middle class blacks. He was able to, therefore, to control black businessmen. He was able to control black churchmen who admired the gospel success that he was articulating. And he was able to win the admiration of working class blacks who saw that all other alternatives had now been essentially exhausted.
Booker was nobody's fool. The Carnegies and the other benefactors of Tuskegee would not have contributed a dime if he, at that moment, had offered a threat to the existence that these wealthy white men were perpetuating.
Across the South, black improvement seemed to be thwarted at every turn, and violence continued as a daily threat. Booker T. Washington searched for a compromise that might bring racial peace. His opportunity came in 1895 when he was invited to speak at the Cotton Exposition in Atlanta, Georgia. September 25th was proclaimed Negro Day, but the black press tried to discourage blacks from attending.
If Negroes wish to feel that they are inferior to other American citizens, if they want to see all sides, signs that say, "For whites only," or "No niggers or dogs allowed," if they want to be humiliated and have their man and womanhood crushed out, then come. Editor, Atlanta Voice.
James Creelman, a correspondent for the New York World, observed the crowd turn hostile when Washington mounted the speaker's platform.
When a colored man appeared on the stage, a sudden chill fell on the whole assemblage. One after another asked, "What's that nigger doing on the stage?" James Creelman.
But when Booker T. Washington criticized his own people for seeking political and economic power during Reconstruction, the crowd listened.
Our greatest danger is that in the great leap from slavery to freedom, we may overlook the fact that the masses of us are to live by the production of our hands. The opportunity to earn $1 in a factory just now is worth infinitely more than to spend $1 in an opera house. Booker T. Washington.
And when he held his dusky hand high above his head with the fingers stretched apart and said to the white people of the South on behalf of his race, "In all things that are purely social, we can be as separate as the finger, yet one as the hand. In all things essential to mutual progress," a great sound wave resounded from the walls, and the whole audience was on its feet in a delirium of applause. When the Negro finished, such an ovation followed as I had never seen before and never expect to see again. White Southern women pulled flowers from the bosom of their dresses and rained them upon the stage. Tears ran down the face of the many blacks in the audience.
As news of Washington's speech began to spread, many in the black community wondered, had Washington chosen to compromise their human rights in exchange for racial peace and economic stability? This generated overwhelming feelings of confusion, disappointment, even anger. But the white press across America rushed to embrace Washington's views. Former abolitionists, railroad tycoons, political leaders, even President Grover Cleveland wired their congratulations. No black leader had ever before so eloquently defended Jim Crow. The speech would be celebrated as the Atlanta Compromise.
I think Booker Washington's idea of getting civil rights was, if you look like, act like, achieve like, work like, own businesses like, support the government like, pay taxes like everybody else, that the civil rights that you are entitled to will be given to you.
The South had demonstrated this was not the case. Only 12 months after the Atlanta Compromise, the highest court in the land would agree. 3 years before the Washington speech, a Louisiana shoemaker named Omer Plessy was fined $25 for refusing to leave a whites-only car on the Louisiana Railway. Plessy was only 1/8 black, but under Louisiana law, he was black. By 1896, the case appeared before the United States Supreme Court. The court upheld the Louisiana law, stating that separate but equal facilities for blacks and whites did not violate the Constitution's new guarantee of equal protection. Only 3 decades earlier, the end of slavery had been the promise of a new day for black Americans in which they could earn their livelihood by their own freely chosen labor, educate their children, participate in government, and receive equal justice under the law. But despite the remarkable advances, those hopes were now dashed. Jim Crow was the law of the land, North and South, and so it would remain for half a century. Abandoned by the North, without allies in the South, blacks continued to struggle for their freedom, relying on their families, churches, schools, and other organizations to sustain them. For black Americans, no time since the end of slavery seems so dark.
From home.
The tragic era of Jim Crow comes to life at PBS Online with interactive activities and first-hand accounts. Find details on key people, events, and more at pbs.org.